My dear friends, welcome back. This is chapter number 4 of NCERT Geography, which we were dealing with. We have already completed 3 chapters. Now this is the 4th chapter, the chapter Air. Like the previous chapter, we will also deal this chapter in 2 parts. In the first part, we will deal with what is actually the atmosphere. Then we will deal with the composition of atmosphere or the composition of air. Then we will start with the different types of layers that we have in the atmosphere, and then in the second part of the video we will cover the remaining part of this chapter. Okay, so let's begin with this chapter, the air. Now this chapter starts with a concept called atmosphere, right? So this chapter starts with a concept that is called atmosphere. So let's first define it, and then we will have much more understanding or much more clarity with regard to this concept. So when we say atmosphere, it is basically a blanket of air. So this is a blanket of air that surrounds our earth. Now let's understand this definition. This definition tells you a lot of things which you need to understand. Okay, I have written the definition as this is the blanket of air. Now what do you mean by blanket? In winter season, when we have a blanket on our body, what you feel? Whenever you feel cold, you put a blanket on your body and your body gets warmer. Okay, so in this way you prevent yourself from the chilling winter, right? This atmosphere is also a type of blanket which saves our earth, or which saves the living organisms living on the earth's surface from chilling effect that could have been caused if there has been no atmosphere. Okay, so that is why it is blanket. It acts as a blanket. Now blanket of what? This is not a real blanket. This is a blanket of air. Okay, so this is the air which I am referring as a blanket here. This air or this air that surrounds our earth acts like a blanket. Okay, and it is surrounding our earth. So this was a basic definition of the atmosphere. Okay, so now let's now when we say this air, you will find that this air is not only composed of gases. Okay, so let's understand what are the compositions or what are the constituents that are present in the air. Okay, so let's understand the composition of the air. Composition of air. Let's understand this. So when we say composition of the air is constituting, air is there are lots of gases, there are lots of particles, water vapor, dust particles are there. So these are all the components of air. So what are all that is present in this air? So when we talk about air, we talk about gases, right? We talk about gases. We also talk about water vapor, and then we also talk about dust particles that are present in the air. So these are the 3 major constituents of air. Now these gases is the major constituent. This gases consists of 99.6% of the total volume of air. So what are all gases that are present? 3 main gases. The first one is nitrogen, right, which is of course close to like 78%. This is close to 78% of the total air. The total volume of air, you have 78% nitrogen. Then you have oxygen, which is second most abundant, close to 21%. Now if you add these two, you will find that these two constitutes 99% of the air. So 99% of the air is constituted by nitrogen and oxygen alone. Now there is another gas called argon gas. This argon is a very inert type of gas. That is, it does not react with other elements very easily. Okay, so this is a type of inert gas. However, it is also constituting of 0.93% of the total volume of air. Okay, so now if you will add this, like, okay, then we have also another gas called carbon dioxide, or simply carbon dioxide, or simply CO2. This CO2 constitutes of 0.03%. So this constitutes of 0.03%. Now if you will add all these four things I have written here, all these four gases, if you will add up, you will find 99.96% of the air is constituted by these four gases: nitrogen, oxygen, argon and carbon dioxide. 99.96% is constituted by these four gases. What about other gases? What about this water vapor? What about these dust particles? And what about other gases? Hydrogen, helium, right, carbon. What about all this? So okay, just wait. Now the rest 0.04%, in this 0.04% you have this water vapor and dust particles and all remaining gases that you find. Water vapor, dust particles plus others, whatever you want to add, you can add here. Okay, so 4 nitrogen, oxygen, argon and carbon dioxide constitute 99.96%, and the rest is 0.04%, which consists of water vapor, dust particles and any other gas you wish to add here, you can add here. Okay, these are all within this 0.04%. So you can imagine what is the composition of the air is. Okay, now let's understand what is the use of nitrogen. Nitrogen is 78% in the air. What is the use of it? What is the use of this abundance? Let's understand. Nitrogen. When I say nitrogen, obviously I'm not teaching you biology or chemistry. I want you to have some idea about nitrogen. Nitrogen is the basic element of protein. Okay, and you know protein is the building block of our body. So nitrogen is the basic constituent of protein, and this protein is the building block of our body, right? And of course this is not a chemistry or biology class, so I will not go into such a great depth. Just understand that this nitrogen is the basic constituent of protein, and protein is the building block of our body. That is, protein is much essential for the sustenance of our physical body, right? And where we get this protein in our body? So this is something which we will get from plants. And so plants, from where does it get protein? So basically plants use atmospheric nitrogen. Okay, but plants do not directly absorb this gas. Okay, plants do not directly absorb this gas from the atmosphere. What it does, there is someone which does it for the plants. That is, we have some bacteria which we call the nitrogen fixing bacteria, and these bacteria play a very key role. These are nitrogen fixing, these are nitrogen fixing bacteria which converts this atmospheric nitrogen into some form of, it converts N2, I don't know if you are able to see, let me look at if you are able to see. Okay, so you will not be able to see if I write there. So basically this should be my boundary line. Okay, so this is my boundary line under which I do not have to go. So this nitrogen fixing bacteria that we have, what does it do? It converts atmospheric nitrogen gas into NH3 or NH2, that is some nitrogen containing compound. Okay, and this is this NH3 or NH2 which is used by plants, and we as animals or we as human beings take this converted form of nitrogen in the form of protein. Okay, so protein, plant-based proteins we also get proteins from animals, but again animals also get proteins from plants itself. So this is the basic, also the fertilizers we use, what is the most abundant component of fertilizers? Nitrogen. We have also phosphorus and potassium, but nitrogen is the basic component of fertilizers which we add to the soil to increase its fertility, to increase the productivity of the crops. Okay, so that is nitrogen is used by plants, okay, through the help of bacteria that converts this nitrogenous atmospheric nitrogen gas into NH3 and NH2, and then we get protein from plants. Okay, so this was the basic use of nitrogen. Now let's understand similarly the oxygen, and I do not have to push very much, I do not have to emphasize much on oxygen, because you know the significance of oxygen in our life, right? Many of you have gone through the news, recently what had happened in India or in any part of India for the scarcity of oxygen that was observed during the second wave of coronavirus. So that is something which is evident of the fact that how important is oxygen for us, right? So let's try to understand the significance of oxygen, right? So let's try. So when we talk about oxygen, you are not able to see, I know. So let's try here. If you are talking about oxygen is something which is the basic element for the survival of organism on the earth. We as human being cannot survive even a minute without oxygen. That is not possible for us. Okay, you can hold your breath for I don't know for how many minutes you can, that depends on each person's ability, but on an average a person cannot hold his breath more than 40 or 30 seconds, right? At max you can hold it for 1 minute if you are not a very professional type of practitioner for holding this breath. So oxygen is something which is life supporting. So this is something which I call so when I call oxygen, so this is something which is life supporting, right? So this is life supporting gas, that is without it you cannot imagine life of animals or human beings. Okay, then we have another gas which was there, that is argon, but argon is not that much important, okay, for us, but of course there is, because of its because of its type of it is a type of gas which is inert. So because of its inertness, it rarely, you know, combines with other gases, other gas molecules. So as we as human beings do not have much use of argon, but again CO2, this is very much important for us. Why this is very much important? Because it is a greenhouse gas. And why I am saying it a greenhouse gas? This is because whenever you come across this word greenhouse, it has something to do with temperature, it has something to do with the thermal property. So when we say greenhouse gas, it means that it has the capability, it has the ability to absorb heat that is radiated by earth. So this gas has the ability to absorb the heat that is radiated by the earth. Let's understand through a diagram. Suppose this is the sun and this is the surface of the earth. Now when this the sun's rays hit the surface, there is some amount of heating that takes place. Okay, and after that this will return back to the atmosphere. Now when this radiation will return back, if it come across a gas called CO2, CO2 has the ability to absorb the amount of heat that this ray contains. Okay, and so the heat will be absorbed in this gas molecule. Okay, and that is why we are surviving on the earth, because CO2 is something that keeps the earth warmer. It keeps the earth warmer in the sense that if there had been no CO2 or no greenhouse gas on the earth, there could have been a temperature of more than minus, more than freezing point, less than freezing point even. So in that scenario, life could not have been possible on the earth. So CO2, what it does is it maintains a type of warmth on the earth. It maintains a type of heat on the earth which is required for survival of organisms on the earth. And also, not just because it absorbs heat, that is why it is essential. Also, CO2 is required by plants. It is required by plants for the process of photosynthesis, right? And as you know, in lower standards you have learnt about this idea of photosynthesis. What is this? This is a process by which plants prepare their food. This is the simplest definition. But what does it use in preparing its food? It uses CO2, it uses water, and it has already chlorophyll. And with this chlorophyll it also uses sunlight, and then it prepares the food. C6H12O6, the glucose. Okay, so CO2, without CO2, how will plant prepare food? And if plants would not prepare food, what will happen to us? You will say, okay, I will eat egg, I will eat meat, but what about the animals? What will they eat? Will they eat human? No. So animals will eat, so herbivorous eat plants and carnivorous eat herbivorous, you know it. What will happen to the herbivorous if there will be no plants? So that is something you have to understand. So CO2 in that sense is very much essential, right? But now what has happened after too much of industries we have set up, there has been a certain amount of increment in the concentration of CO2 in the atmosphere. And because of this increment in the concentration of CO2 in the atmosphere, we often come across this term global warming. What is this global warming? Global warming is basically the increment in average temperature on the earth. And what has triggered this global warming? This greenhouse gas CO2. And of course there are other greenhouse gases, but CO2 has significant role to play. Okay, so this was about CO2. Now let's now let us understand the next topic that we have, that is the atmospheric layers that we have to understand, in which we will study about the different layers of atmosphere that we have. Okay, for example, troposphere, stratosphere, then we have mesosphere, then we have of course thermosphere, and then exosphere. So we will understand each of these layers of the atmosphere one by one, and we will also see what are the distinguished, what are the distinctive properties of all these layers. Okay, so, and at the end I will also give you a trick through which you will be very easily able to remember the different layers in a very sequence manner. Because if you will come across these 5 type of layers that we have in the atmosphere, so you will be confused what comes first and what comes the second, and then what is the third. So you will not be very comfortable with memorizing this sequence, the order in which these layers are existent. So let's understand. So when we talk about the layers of atmosphere, when we talk about the layers of atmosphere, what does it mean? First understand what does it mean. So when we say layers of atmosphere, it certainly means that atmosphere is divided into several layers. And when we divide something into several layers, what we the basic idea behind this division is that the different layers of atmosphere have different properties. They exhibit some different amount of features, and that is why one layer is different from the other layer. When we see upper in the sky, you find that everywhere there is cloud and the sky is blue and all those things you observe. Okay, but this atmosphere that we see, that is just the one layer of the atmosphere in which we live, and above that layer there are other layers that have distinctive properties from the layer in which we live. Okay, so let's understand. For this understanding this layers of atmosphere, let's first write it. So atmosphere is not a uniform, okay, it has different layers, showing or exhibiting different properties. And what are these properties I am talking about? When we say they have different properties, I mean that they have different composition of, they have different concentration or composition, you will say. They have different amount of, concentration of air, and also there is temperature difference. Okay, there is also temperature difference when we go from one layer to the other, right? My dear friends, as we have understand the interior of the earth, we have observed that when we go deeper into the earth, we find that temperature usually increases. This phenomena is just opposite when you will go up. The temperature as you will go up tends to decrease. Okay, so this phenomena that is observed in the atmosphere, that as you go up you will find that temperature has decreased. Okay, and we will see that there is a certain layer in this layers of atmosphere where the temperature doesn't decreases, rather it increases with increasing height. Okay, so let's understand. So I have written here the layers of atmosphere. So this is layers of atmosphere. So atmosphere is not uniform, okay, and it has different layers, And why we have different layers? Because they show different properties. That is why we have divided atmosphere into different layers. Now this properties, when I say what are the different properties that they exhibit, they have different amount of concentration of air. Means in certain layer of atmosphere you will find that the concentration of gases or the amount of gaseous particles are very much, but as you go up you will find that steadily this concentration goes on decreasing as we go up. And there is also a temperature difference. Means I have already mentioned that as you go up the temperature will decrease. Okay, so this is something you have to understand. Now let's come to our topic, the layers of atmosphere. So layers of atmosphere, so we have divided atmosphere into 5 basic layers. Okay, so in this part I will draw a diagram so there are 5 different 5 layers of atmosphere that we will talk about. And at the end I will also give you a trick through which you will be very easily able to understand or remember the layers of atmosphere in a sequential manner. So when I say layers of atmosphere, the first layer that we come across is troposphere. So suppose this is the surface of the earth and here is a person, not so much of height. Suppose here is a person who is standing here. Okay, so up to this height, suppose this is troposphere. And above troposphere you will find that there is another layer that we call the stratosphere. And above this you will find another layer that is called mesosphere. Then you have another layer called thermosphere. And then there is the last layer that is called exosphere, which is basically the merger of Earth's atmosphere into the space. So this is the ground and this is suppose you who is standing here. Okay, so these are the 5 layers that we will deal with: troposphere, stratosphere, mesosphere, thermosphere and exosphere. So let's start our discussion with troposphere. What is this troposphere? So when we say troposphere, as you can see, this area is what we call troposphere. And this person, suppose you are standing here, so you are standing in the tropospheric layer of the atmosphere, and this is the most significant layer of the atmosphere as far as living organisms are concerned. And why I am saying this, that this is the most important layer of the atmosphere? So troposphere is something which is just above the surface of the earth. This is something that is just above the surface of the earth, right? Then if you will see the average height of troposphere, you will find that this is on an average 13 kilometer. Its height is on an average 13 kilometer. Now what does it mean by average height? Why I am saying average height? Why you call something average? What is the meaning of average? When I say average height, it means that the height of troposphere is not uniform on every part of the earth. Okay, let's understand it. So when I say average height, it means that the height of troposphere is not uniform everywhere. So if you are standing on equator, let's suppose, you will find that the height of the troposphere is at maximum height. So don't go into such a depth, just understand it that at the equator, and you know what equator is actually. I have dealt in it in chapters, class 6 itself we have dealt with this equator. So at the equator you will find that the height is up to 18 kilometer. But I don't know if you will be able to look, see here. So I am writing here, let me write it here. So at the equator the height is up to 18 kilometer, and at the poles height is up to 8 kilometer only. So at the equator the height can be up to 18 kilometer, and at the poles the height is maximum up to 8 kilometer. So that is why I am telling about the average height. This is the basic idea behind average height. Average height of the troposphere is 13 kilometer. Now this layer is the most significant layer when it comes to the survival of organism on the earth. Let's understand why. Let's understand why this layer is the most important layer. Okay, so it is basically the most important layer of atmosphere, right? This is the most important layer of atmosphere. And why it is most important? Because all the weather phenomena that you observe, for example, when I say all the weather phenomena, that means the rainfall, what you observe. Have you ever seen the weather forecasting done on TV, on news channels? Have you ever come across the newspapers? If you will see, they basically talk about their prediction of the rainfall that might happen, the temperature that would be there, the maximum and the minimum, and then also the wind conditions, the amount of wind that will flow and with what speed this wind will flow. These are the basic characteristics that you often observe in the weather forecasting reports that you see in televisions or wherever you see this. So all the weather phenomena, for example, rainfall, wind flow, okay, also the thunderstorms, hailstorms, all this, even snowfalls, all these phenomena occur only in this tropospheric level. So that is why I am emphasizing that this is the most important layer of atmosphere. This is the most important layer. Also, one more thing is that 80% of all the volume of air and dust particles and all this is contained in this layer itself. Okay. So 80% of the volume of air is present in the troposphere itself. And beyond this troposphere, if you will go to this and this and this layer, you will find that very little amount of gases or dust particles will not be found in a stratosphere. Basically all the water vapor and the dust particles that you observe More than 99% is present in this troposphere itself. There are rare cases when the surface temperature is very high. In that situation, there is a convectional current that that forces the air to move up to a very great height, and in some situation it can even cross up to the height of a stratosphere. So that is altogether a different case. So 80% of the volume of air is contained in this layer itself, and all the weather phenomena, this is very important, just underline it, all the weather phenomena that you come across, may it be rainfall or the wind or the thunderstorms or the hailstorms or anything for that matter, that is all observed in troposphere. Okay, so this is the most turbulent type of layer that we have in the atmosphere. Okay, the most, when I say turbulent, it means that this is subject to change. Okay, and up to a very great amount, unlike the other layers of atmosphere that we have. Okay, so this was all about the troposphere. This was the most important layer of the atmosphere. Now the layers that we have are also very significant, but not that much significant as the troposphere. Okay, so let's understand another layer that is called a stratosphere. Okay, you might not be able to see from this marker because of its light color, right? So let's understand the stratosphere. So as you can see, the stratosphere is the layer which is just above the troposphere. Now where the troposphere ends, there is a layer which is called tropopause. Now this tropopause is something which shows the characteristics of both troposphere and stratosphere. This is basically a type of transitional zone, a transitional zone between troposphere and stratosphere. In this tropopause you will so let's understand it. So this is, suppose, a very thin type of layer that you will find in between a stratosphere. Here, from here you will find, from here a stratosphere begins. Okay, so there is a transitional zone that is between troposphere and a stratosphere. This transitional zone is called tropopause, right? Now start with stratosphere. So this stratosphere is something that is just above the tropopause. Okay, and we already have dealt with this, a transitional zone, between troposphere and stratosphere, right? So this is just above the tropopause. Then when we talk about the height, height of a stratosphere, you will find that this height will go up to 50 kilometer. Means the height from the troposphere, it will be go up to 80 kilometer from tropopause. So it may go up to a height of 50 kilometer, but that is not significant. What is significant here is the very important layer that the stratosphere contains, and that is ozone layer. You might have heard this word often, ozone layer. This is very important when you try to understand this layer, stratosphere. So just means up to this height you will find that there is a very thin layer that is called ozone layer. Okay, this ozone layer is composed of this ozone, which is basically O3, and this ozone layer is of very much significance for us. Why? This ozone layer absorbs the harmful ultraviolet rays, harmful ultraviolet rays, ultraviolet radiations of sun. So this is the layer that absorbs the ultraviolet radiation of the sun, or basically we can also call it UV rays. Okay, this UV rays, if not absorbed, it can cause lethal impact on us. It can burn our skin. It has also carcinogenic impact, that is, it can cause skin cancer, it can cause irritation in our eyes, if it can also blind us. So that are the intensity of the impact that can be caused if there is no ozone layer. So the ultraviolet ray is that much harmful. Okay, just imagine when there will be no ozone layer in the stratosphere, what will we do? Okay, so that is why I say that ozone layer is the most important part of this stratosphere. Now in this stratosphere you will not find too much of air particles there. Of course there are air particles, but not of that much concentration that you come across in this stratosphere. Okay, so this is something which is free of any weather activity. You will not find any weather activity like rainfall, thunderstorm, or wind blowing in this layer. That is why because of no weather phenomena that is occurring in this layer, this is the most suitable layer for aeroplanes flying. So because this is free of any type of weather phenomena, this is most suitable for aeroplanes to fly. This is the most suitable layer, because you have often if you have traveled through aeroplanes, you will find that you can easily see clouds hanging here and there just below your plane. Okay, so that is because this aeroplane moves in this, I don't know how to draw this aeroplane, but I will try my best. Suppose this is aeroplane, so aeroplane basically moves in this stratospheric layer. Okay, right, and this is the person in troposphere. So this was all about stratosphere. The ozone layer, just remember it is very important because it protects us from ultraviolet ray, which can be very lethal for us. It can cause cancer, skin cancer, it can cause irritation in our eyes, it can also even blind us. Okay, and recently we have come across this ozone depletion term. If you are interested in environmental studies, you will find the mention of ozone depletion that has been caused due to various gases like HFCs and all those. Okay, so this was all about the discussion of stratosphere. Now from a layer that is just above the stratosphere is the mesosphere. So mesosphere is a layer that is just above the stratosphere. So not of that much important mesosphere is. This is found just above a stratosphere. Okay, and its height is if you will find the height, you will find the height up to, let's say, height is although not important, but its height can be up to 80 kilometer from the stratospheric layer, and it can be even more than that. That depends on the where you are standing. At the equator it can be lower, and at poles At equator it can be higher height because troposphere is that much height, and at poles you will find that this is not very much. Okay, so mesosphere is of not much significance for us. Let's concentrate on the thermosphere layer. So let's start with the thermosphere. Now there is a word called thermo. Let me look if I'm missing something in mesosphere. Okay, so mesosphere, no. Mesosphere, just one point you have to understand in mesosphere, that mesosphere has some amount of air particles in it. So there is some amount of gases that you might come across in mesosphere. Of course, stratosphere is much more concentration than mesosphere, and then you will see in thermosphere we have very less density of less concentration of air particles. Whatever happen in mesosphere, because of this presence of air particles to such extent that when meteors enters into our earth, when meteors, let's suppose, enter our earth, what happens? Because of the friction of the air particles that is present here, intense amount of friction on this meteors take place, and because of this intense amount of friction that is caused, this meteors burns, and it burns up to such a level that when it comes up to this height of a stratosphere, it actually collapses, it turns into like vapor or ash particles. So this is a layer which somehow protects us from, just write it, meteorites burn in this layer, okay, because of friction, with air particles. You might have this question, why this meteors does not burn in thermosphere itself? Because thermosphere has not that much amount of air particles that can cause such amount of friction, and that is why we do not have meteorites burning in the thermosphere. It has to enter into mesosphere for burning. Now let's start the thermosphere. Thermosphere, the word thermo, what does this mean? Thermal is a word which means which is related to the degree of hotness or coolness, that is temperature. So thermosphere here is also something which has to do with the temperature. The interesting fact about thermosphere is that I have already, with the beginning of this lecture, I have said that as you go up, the temperature goes down. But remember, this phenomena is something which is not observed in thermosphere. That is why the word thermosphere. Thermosphere is basically the hottest layer of atmosphere. And why it is hottest layer of atmosphere? The reason being, it has very thin amount of very low concentration of air particles, very low concentration, and if in this layer you will find that most intense sun rays, for example X-rays or rays like that, enters into this layer, and because of those rays, this air particles that are there, that gets intensely heated, and because they do not collide with each other, because of very low concentration, the temperature can go up to temperature, you will find that there is temperature from 200 degrees Celsius to 500 degrees Celsius. This is too much of temperature. Remember, at 100 degrees Celsius water starts boiling, and this has the temperature from 200 degrees Celsius to up to 500 degrees Celsius. That is why this is the hottest layer of the atmosphere. But there is one more thing that is there in the thermosphere, and that is we have a layer called ionosphere. and this ionosphere is composed of iron. What is this iron? An ion is a charged particle, right? So thermosphere contains a layer that is composed of charged particles. So when I say charged particles, so there is plus, minus, minus, plus. So this type of arrangement you will see in this layer. Okay. Now, why is this charged layer, this arrangement of charged particles is very much important for us? This ionosphere makes possible radio communication on Earth. So the signals that we receive on our antenna, that is on our terrace, right? Okay, of television, or the radio signals that you have, or the signals that you have in your mobile phone, that are all because of this ionosphere. Okay, for this we have to understand in a little more detail. So let's erase this part so that we can have a greater clarity on this ionosphere. So what happened that suppose this is the ionospheric layer. Suppose this is the ionospheric layer that we have, and here is the ground. Okay, and here is the tower, right? Here is the suppose tower, and it provides signal, it sends signal, and there is another tower. Suppose this is another tower here which receives the signal. These are radio waves actually which are emitted. So these are radio waves, and when this radio wave is being emitted by this tower, it gets reflected by this ionosphere. Okay, and because of this reflection of radio waves, it is it gets absorbed by, we have an antenna on the earth that absorbs it, and that is why radio signals or radio communication is possible. So it makes possible radio communication on earth, because if there had not been any ionosphere in the stratosphere, we could not have been talking to someone in remotely, we could not have televisions. Okay, so of course now we have satellite based communication, so that is another thing. But the starting of this whole idea was the radio waves which we use even today. So radio waves, and that is why you will see that whenever there are cloudy days, suppose there are cloudy days, and clouds do also have some charge in it, what happens that this signal which was going in the ionosphere, now it will get reflected back by the cloud itself, and the cloud will reflect it on ground, and so this signal is not reaching this tower where it was supposed to reach, and that is why there is break in communication. So this is the break in communication, and that is why you will find that whenever there is rainy season or cloudy days, you will find that there is disturbance in the telecast in radio, or even you will feel trouble in talking to someone on mobile phone. Okay, that is something you will come across, and this is because this cloud has reflected this waves, radio waves that were emitted by this tower, and this tower which was supposed to collect these signals, now they cannot, because this has been reflected here. So you cannot just shift this tower here. Towers are not mobile. Even if towers are mobile, you don't know where it is being reflected by clouds. Okay, so this was the basic idea of ionosphere. And now exosphere is something which is like a transitional zone. Okay, so exosphere is like something, a transitional zone that is between the earth's atmosphere and the space. Okay, so this is not of too much of knowledge. Exosphere is basically a transitional zone. Let's write it here. It is a transitional zone between Earth's atmosphere and space. So from here onwards you will find that the space begins. So my dear friends, this was all about the first part of this chapter, that is atmosphere. In the second part of this chapter we will come across the weather and the climate. Then we will see the wind, different types of wind that we have, the permanent wind, the seasonal winds. Okay, then we will look into the rainfall, the types of rainfall we have: convective rainfall, orographic rainfall. Okay, this type of rainfalls we will try to understand. Okay, for up to that, just look into this lecture once, twice or thrice. That depends on you. And okay, and note down each and every point that I have mentioned here. And one most important thing, what is the trick that I was talking about? So how will you remember this troposphere, a stratosphere, mesosphere, thermosphere and exosphere in a sequential manner? Just remember this Tasamte. This is Tasamte. Will you remember it? Tasamte. So this is the trick that I was talking about. Tasamte. Just an arbitrary word, no meaning at all. Tasamte. Just a trick. Just try to remember it, and you will find very easy to memorize this. So if you have some friends who are very curious about knowing all these things, you share this video with him. And if you have any doubt, let me know about it in the comment box. And subscribe if you have not, because if you will subscribe it will be like paying me the fee for which I am doing the hard labor here. Because of course I do have some something to achieve from this video, because I am doing a lots of labor for making this video. So it's your responsibility to spread this piece of knowledge wherever you want. Okay, so let's meet in the second part of this video. Up to that, be prepared with it, each and every concept that I have talked in it. Okay, just keep calm and do hard work. Thank you.